Good morning, good afternoon, depending on when you're seeing this. Welcome to this master class as part of the core's capacity building component, but we like to stream our master classes to the ecosystem at large to kind of add value and engage more people. So thank you all for being here. We're very excited to share with you today this masterclass on growth hacking. And hopefully by the time Tim is finished, you would have changed your mind on what growth hacking is and how to go about it. Tim will be with us again. So this is a two series. Just a very quick kind of intro to Tim. Tim, thank you for being here. We're very excited to be collaborating with you on this. And Tim is, for lack of a better name for now, is a growth hacker. He helps companies grow, and he also teaches that, and coaches companies on how they can kind of turn on their growth engines, if you will. He's got many achievements to his name. He's helped many startups secure funding, and he's works on restructuring and also putting in the right dashboards. What you can't measure, you can't improve. So he does a lot of dashboarding, and as you know, Tim is delivering this masterclass, but also you can request to have a session, a one-on-one coaching session with Tim by filling out the service request form. Tim also teaches in two Barcelona universities, and he is always eager and always in the right circles, speaking entrepreneurship and growth. So without further ado, Tim, thank you for being with us today, and the floor is yours.
Dr. Yazan, thank you so much for the introduction. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Guys, before we start, can I ask a very quick question? Can we all make sure on the top right where you see view to make sure that you have the speaker view? Because I won't be sharing my screen. What's going to happen is that the screen share is going to be behind me like this that you're going to see. So if you can have me the biggest possible, you're going to have the best experience, right? So on the top right, you have view, change it to speaker view. I hope everybody done that. And I think Nadine has pinned me already on the top. Is that correct, Nadine? Yeah, can everybody see that clearly? Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we're not speaking, can we ask to mute as well? I do have a child as well. Hopefully you won't hear her because she's at the nursery at the moment. Yeah, thank you so much, Yaman, for that. Awesome, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. We'll do very quick introductions, but Dr. Yazan has introduced me quite well. But I'll give you a little bit of personal background as well, so you get to know me a little bit deeper. I'm half Turkish, half French. I've had the luck to be born in Istanbul. I grew up there for 15 years. Then I had a chance to move to Seattle, Los Angeles, London, and now in Barcelona, Spain. I started my career really in sales. I did the magic carpet selling door to door because I'm Turkish, so I sold Turkish and Persian carpets in California door to door. That was, I think, one of my hardest jobs. I was about 19 years old, but it was very, very interesting. Learning hardcore sales, door to door sales was, I think, one of the best experiences that I've had, to be honest. It was hard, but it was amazing. From there on, I really discovered that I didn't want to sell things to people that didn't need it, right? Because it was a bit forcing them to buy these carpets. They didn't need these carpets, right? So we had to force them to make money. Then I discovered marketing, and this is where I got really excited because marketing was more, finding the people that might need the product that you have and trying to be in front of them when they're going to make that decision. So from there on, I moved to London, and in London, what I've realized is that marketing was great, but a combination of sales, marketing, and product was where I really found growth, right? We didn't call it growth back then. People called me a little crazy back then. And then I moved to Barcelona when growth hacking got cool. And back then, if you guys remember, I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago, the word growth hacking was super cool, right? And everybody wanted to be a growth hacker, and you could see that everywhere. Growth hacking is not cool, guys. and we'll dig into it in a bit, and you'll see why. There are cool aspects to it, but the word hacking, it's not ethical, it's not sustainable. So this is why I've changed a lot into what I call growth consultancy, a growth consultant. Why? I've also included now operations into it. Since you all have startups or you're working on startups for your projects, for the accelerator. So very interestingly, growth ops is actually what drives the growth of the business, right? So I have a thing that I say, usually it's the 5 things: having the right people at the right place with the right systems, the right tools, and the right goals, right? If you can achieve that, this is where growth happens, right? But don't worry, this masterclass is about demystifying growth hacking, right? And when we end, you will get a few frameworks. You will get a couple of things that you can really execute right away. Hopefully, we'll have some time for Q&A or even a quick exercise that I try to keep for the end. And I hope that you're all looking forward to that. Hopefully, we can get to that. But very quickly, I know that you all know each other possibly, and it does get boring when everybody knows each other. So let's try to make it very, very quick. Introduce yourself. Let me know what you're working on. And what do you think about growth hacking? Let's try to keep it under a minute, like very, very quick, just to get to know each other. If you guys don't mind, I will assign who should go because I can see people on the screen. I'll go from left to right from my screen. I'm sure that it's different for everybody. And let's try to keep it short. If it's not too short, I'm going to try to stop you so that we can go ahead with the content so that you guys can get value out of this. Because I'm sure getting to know each other, if you already know each other, is not much of a value today. But it will be a lot of value for me if that's okay. Right? So can we start with Caroline very quickly?
Sure. Good morning. So I'm Caroline, co-founder of Khibrati. We're a platform that does matchmaking between senior and executive talent and businesses. And growth hacking for me is a very scary term.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's not going to be scary at the end. Don't worry.
Yeah. I'll let you know.
Awesome. Thank you,
Thank
Caroline.
you.
Pleasure to meet you. Welcome. That's awesome. Yaman.
Hi, good morning. My name is Yaman. I'm with the Controlcast. We work in digital out-of-home advertising. Those are the screens that you see outdoors mostly. We have a new business model that we're working on, so I won't get into details about that. But for me, growth hacking is the kind of strategies that you employ that aren't necessarily sustainable, but that can get you the momentum you need to roll out your business.
Okay, love it. Thank you, Yaman. Pleasure. Awesome. Nice to have you here. Hamza.
Hi.
Hamza.
Hi. Yes, this is Hamza Ali.
Sorry,
I'm one
Hamza.
of Dr.
Sorry,
Yazan's
Hamza,
students.
It was with the Hamza with the S. Sorry, Hamza.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
Sorry.
get back
Hamza
to you.
with the S. It is always happening. Hamza and
sorry
Hamza.
about that.
S and Z. It's okay. Hamza is a male guy, is a name for a male guy, and Hamza is a female guy. For always when I talk to people in English, they talk, I'm a male.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. I didn't know that there was the female version with the S. I do apologize for that.
No, it's okay. I'm Hamza Ghanem. I'm the founder of Unique Shop, a platform for handmade and customized local products. I can't wait to know more about growth hacking and how can I apply some of the strategies as soon and on the midterm and long term as well. Happy to be there and looking forward to know more about it.
Awesome. Pleasure to have you. Thank you so much. And I do apologize again, though. That's
no, it's okay. It's fine.
That's awesome.
No,
I knew
fine.
Hamza, but I didn't know Hamza. So I learned something new today. Thank you. Awesome. Rashed.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
So I'm Rashed. I'm a co-founder in a startup called Ozone. We are a company specialized in creating visual content. And we're now working on a couple of technological products that is considered a natural extent of our current field. So about growth hacking, I was intrigued about the subject to see how can I apply it to my startup, to my new products. to my new modules. I'm not particularly familiar with the term, but to be honest, yani, in general, what I understood about it is that it can give you a better, more efficient and accelerated path into your growth.
Okay.
So yeah, that's for me.
Okay, that's awesome. Pleasure to have you, Rashed. And that was an interesting explanation of growth hacking. Amazing. Thank you. All
Thank you.
right. Sarah?
Yeah, hi Tim.
Hello.
I'm Sarah, founder of Xbrand, the first fashion retail marketplace in Jordan, where fashion lovers can sell their items, their pre-owned items, and the buyer can find unique pre-owned and new items at lower cost.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you for this session. I'm so excited about it,
All right,
actually.
same here. And what about growth hacking? What do you think about growth hacking? What is it for you?
Actually, I'm still new. I'm gonna. I don't know about this term a lot, actually, still.
Okay, awesome. Well, at the end of it, you'll know quite a bit of it, I reckon. So that's awesome. Well, pleasure to have you, Sarah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for your introduction.
Thank you.
Awesome. Gassan, is that correct?
Yes, hello. Hi, Tim.
Hi.
I work with Yaman Jundi, founder of Controlcast. As I said, we have outdoor screens. Sorry, let me get to the. Sorry, one second.
All right.
Sorry, my mic was fuzzing.
That's okay.
About growth hacking, I'm trying to learn more about it, but I know that it's about expanding, having a funnel of it, like much more detailed growth for your company. So I'm trying to figure it out with more exposure to it. That's the whole point.
Okay, that's amazing. All right, pleasure, Gassan. Nice to have you here. Thank you so much.
No
And I have seen all the startup profiles, by the way. I just want to make sure that I understand who's who and what you're working on and how you think about growth hacking. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. Rula?
Yeah, hi Tim.
Hello.
Well, I'm Rula from Osha Filters. We are trying to build a industrial wastewater treatment unit for like businesses and to treat the oily wastewater. As for the growth hackings, I feel like it's more like strategies, tools that you can use for your company and especially for the market and customers. Like it's a shortcut to give you this boost. Yeah, thank you. It's like a shortcut to give you boost in the industry.
Very well explained, and I'm glad
Thank
that
you.
you mentioned tools. Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
I think that it's a lot about tools, and we're going to look at tools by the end of it. So that's awesome. Pleasure to have you here, Rula.
Thank you so much, Tim.
Awesome, Malek.
Hello, Tim. This is Malik from Laundrette. We are a startup working on design and production of water sport equipment. Our main focus now, our product line is a water jet pack on the shape of a sea scooter. It is used for divers like a sea scooter. It is, could be a new product to the market. So about growth hacking, let's say we work on that a bit in our financial plan when we forecasted our production and our growth in the next 3 years. But we are not mature yet and we didn't start production yet. So for sure, there is much to work on. Lastly, I just want to highlight that I'm interested to know if the growth in terms of say market, because we can go to global market or focus on just single market. So the growth in terms of production capacity versus growth in terms of product line, because we can have later a new product lines in the same category.
Awesome. Okay, yeah. So you'll see it's all about experimentation. So you'll be able to do the framework that you will learn today. Hopefully, you'll be able to experiment on both sides.
Nice.
On the distribution and many things, hopefully.
Sure.
Awesome. Pleasure to have you. Thank you. And that sounds like a cool gadget, man. I'd like to see that when it's ready.
Yeah, sure. We will give you an invitation to try.
Please, please. Yeah, I love water stuff, so I sail a lot. So I love the sea and the water and anything
Nice to hear that.
around it. Awesome, thank you. Al Yaman.
Hi everyone, hi team. My name is Yaman Abriyash. I'm working in Osha team with Rula. We are working to build a filtration system to remove the wastewater. I'm so exciting for this session to know a new strategy to implement or to use it in our system with our team.
Awesome, nice to have you here as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Yasser.
Hi, how are you? My name is Yasser. I'm so excited to be in this session. By the way, I'm co-founder in companies called Eclipse. We are making a smart glass system. So it's a film. We are stick it on the glasses and we can control it through control. We are developed to check the transparency from 0 to 99. So you can control it from your phone. So there is no more curtain, no more blend. So this is the quick introduction about what we do. I was exciting when you start talking that you was start working in Turkey because I visit Turkey many times. I start my work in sale. So you give me like memories when you starting from door to door. You start like selling and then you grow yourself for a marketing and etc. So I'm excited to know more about that growth hacking. What I think about growth hacking is that makes the sales way or the marketing way more light or more easy, like for reduce the money or something like
the budget.
I don't know. I'm just getting now confused. Anyway, I'm so excited to be in the session and thank you so much.
Awesome. Nice to have you here. Nice to have you here as well. All right. I want to get into the content very quickly. So let's go a little bit quicker. Thank you so much, Yasser. If you're not working on a startup and you just joined to see the session, just intro yourself very quickly and tell about the growth hacking side of things. And we'll try to make this a little bit faster. Mohammed.
Is it me?
Yeah, I think so. There is one Mohammed, I think, today. Yeah.
So I'm Mohammed Nabhan, co-founder of Decisive company. Yep. It's an AI solution in the healthcare sector. We're working with medical laboratories, with hospitals, and insurance company. In a brief, like we took the data from the hospitals, we analyze it, and after that we give them prediction and business insights and recommendations to help them take the right decision.
Yeah.
Brief about the growth hacking. I think it's part of the how to optimize the digital marketing and use it use the every tactics or every metrics to expand your company. What I'm interested in is how can we use the growth hacking to develop P2P business.
Okay, awesome. We're gonna get into that for sure. Thank you so much, Mohammed. All right, Kamel.
Hello, Tim. This is my name is Kamel Giusi, founder of Wajba. Wajba would be a marketplace for home food lovers. The idea is to connect people with home-based kitchens. I didn't know before the term growth hacking. I didn't know that we can hack growth actually, but I'm interested to know more about this subject.
Then you're in the right place, buddy. We're gonna get into it. So you're gonna know a little bit about.
I'm gonna interrupt for a second because we probably, welcome everyone. We probably have multiple people for the same startup, and we have people not from the current cohort. So I suggest we move on for the sake of time. We've spent already 25 minutes, so that's my recommendation, just to manage a bit the time. Okay.
Okay, we had a couple people left, but sure, let's do that. Anyone who we haven't met, sadly, send me a message on LinkedIn, introduce yourselves. I want to get to know all of you. I like to get to know people, but as Rezek said, I think that maybe we're losing some time, and I do want to make sure that you get the value out of it. And luckily, you know what? I'll agree that because we got everybody on camera, almost, right? Apart Yehia, but we'll get to know him in a bit as well. All right, so then we'll start the content, and then hopefully we'll have a bit of time at the end on the Q&A, and then if you're asking a question and you haven't introduced yourself, you can quickly intro yourself. How about that? Is that okay, Rezek? Yeah, awesome, cool. All right, let's get to that. I'm glad that there's a bunch of people. I thought it was gonna be a little bit smaller, so I wanted to use that time to get to know you. But anyways, so let's do the magic. If you've joined a little bit late, make sure that on the top right on the view you have the speaker view, because the presentation is gonna be behind me, as you're gonna see it like this. And I might start getting a bit smaller so that you can see the slides. All right, so don't worry about that. And if I disappear, I'll be back. Okay. All right, so what is growth hacking, right? Everybody said some great stuff, and I think that you all are kind of right, okay? But I want to show you some crazy examples of growth hacking, okay? Because I think that that's where the term growth hacking came from. If you guys remember these click farms? Right? In China and Russia, we had a lot of these click farms. These are physical phones. They used to have thousands of phones connected. And with this, what they would do fake reviews for App Store, for applications. They would like stuff, right? And this is how this term growth hacking started. It was very hardware driven. It was very hacking, right? And it was actually not sustainable at all. So this possibly still exists. But please, obviously do not use click farms for anything you do. But this is where it started, right? So I'll give you another very different example, right? I'm sure that most of us know Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, again, the president of France, luckily. Obviously, Marine Le Pen was very, very different. I'm not going to get into politics, but Emmanuel Macron did a very, very big difference in the elections. He was a new politician, and he did a very, very big difference. Of course, his agenda and his political view was quite important, but attending these numbers that quickly was something very, very magical, right, for a politician. And how did he do this? He had a growth hacking team. Right? So what did his growth hacking team do? His growth hacking team actually built a chatbot on his website, while Marine Le Pen had actual physical people answering the phones, answering the questions of potential people that were going to vote for Marine Le Pen, asking all these questions. While they could answer, let's say, hundreds of people a day, the chatbot, of course, could answer thousands of people a minute almost, right? Because it's automated. So Emmanuel Macron's team built a chatbot that would have all the answers to the questions that the voters might have had, right? And that really did a very quick, as we say, a quick curve, right, on answering these questions, and they were able to get to many, many more people much quicker. Right? So this is another example. Now I'm going to get to an example that is not the nicest to see. So I do apologize for that. All right. But it's a very interesting example that I really love. Okay. So this is Mr. Takeru Kobayashi. Right. Mr. Takeru Kobayashi, I don't know if anyone knows about him. He's a Japanese man who actually hacked his way into the sausage hot dog eating competition. As you might know, in America, there are some very interesting competitions, like the hot dog eating competition, right? In the hot dog eating competition, the usually standard people has been there for years, professionally eating hot dogs, much bigger people who can eat and who's practiced this over years and years, right? Takeru Kobayashi comes in, and what he does is that he experiments, right? What did he do? So Takeru Kobayashi started to actually dissect the hot dog, take it apart, take the bun apart, take the sausages apart, and take 2 sausages instead of a whole hot dog. I know the example is horrible. I do apologize, right? But it's a great example from politics to a weird hot dog eating competition, because I want you to understand a little bit the growth mindset, right? Because it's all about the mindset. You can experiment on anything. You can do growth hacking on whatever you guys want, right? So what he's done, he's ate the sausages separately. He dipped the bun into the drink so that the bun would get softer, the bread would get softer, and he could eat much faster. So normally the scale of this hot dog eating competition was here. And what he's done is basically he's taken that and he's really brought that much, much further, right? And everybody got shocked, to be honest. Everybody got shocked. They're like, wow, how can he do that? He just joined the competition for the first time. It's because he's experimented, right? So it's all about experimentation. That's what I wanted to show you with the quick examples, right? So anyways, let's get a little bit more to the juicy stuff, because I know everybody talks about marketing, about growth, and a lot of people ask me about the difference, right? I think some of you mentioned some really cool stuff about tools. I didn't hear much around the experimentation side, but I've heard a little bit about people trying different things, so that's awesome. But basically, the difference between marketing and growth, all right, is that the marketing teams, what they will do, their mindset, it's really on a campaigns mindset, right? So we create a campaign, we launch a campaign, we have a date, right? It's a 3-month campaign, it's a 6-month campaign, and so on. And we look at the end of the campaign, what has happened, right? We look at the results. Yeah? So that's what a marketing team usually does, right? So I'll make myself a little bit smaller here so that we can see a little bit better. And their objectives of a marketing team, usually it's on the funnel, right, that you guys mentioned. Some of you mentioned, I think, funnel. It was on the awareness and acquisition side, right? This is the classical marketing, right? So what we do is we look at awareness and acquisition, yeah? And the marketing team, obviously, it's composed of marketeers, right? And their process, as mentioned, with the mindset is just campaigns. Designing campaigns, launching campaigns, going after campaigns, all right? So what's the difference here is on the growth teams, their mindset is very experimental, is on experiments, right? So their objective of a growth team, it's the whole funnel, it's the full funnel, right? Acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, referral, right? I'm sure that some of you might have heard the pirate funnel. Has anybody heard the pirate funnel? If you heard the pirate funnel, put your hand up or something. Yeah, anybody heard the pirate funnel? No. Okay, so the pirate funnel is the R funnel. Okay, it's really boring, but it's basically acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, referral, right? So marketing teams looked at just the beginning of a funnel, which was awareness, making sure that there is a brand awareness, that people know that your brand exists, your company exists, and then how you acquire a sign up, a client, and so on. Growth teams started to look at how to retain these people, but before that, so how to make sure even how to activate these people, right? If you're doing a B2B SaaS or so on, right? I know that some of you are on that side of things, then you can acquire people, you can sign up, they might even pay for it, but that might be a vanity metric very quickly because the next month they could cancel the subscription if they're not using the application, correct? So this is why activation and making sure that the usage of the software, of the platform is there, has been a very important factor, okay? And obviously, as mentioned, retention, but also growth teams looks at the revenue, okay? So revenue ops you'd hear sometimes, but growth people should also be looking at revenue and also at referral, right? We will look at some examples that I'm sure some of you know, some amazing examples like Dropbox, right? They're classical examples of referrals, okay? And we will look at that as well. So, but the difference from that marketing and growth team on the team composition, it's that now we have, in the growth team, we have a multidisciplinary team, a cross-skilled team, right? We have marketing, we have developers, we have analysts, we have UX, we have product people sometimes. Sometimes we have even sales people, we have customer support people. A growth team, it's not just marketeers. A growth team has to oversee the whole company, right? So you have to have knowledge of product, operations, sales, whatever. It's all about the multidisciplinary teams, okay? Don't forget this, guys, because still I see out there people creating growth teams and putting 5-6 marketeers together. And then they call them, oh, here's a growth team. How can they change the product? How can they change a lot of other things that marketing usually doesn't have control or doesn't have vision on, right? This is why the experimentation is throughout the company and not just on the marketing department, okay? And the process, instead of campaigns, we're looking at data-driven, or I like to prefer to call it data-informed now, experiments, okay? But data-driven experiments still does exist, all right? So it's all about the experimentation, as mentioned. This is why we saw Takeru Kobayashi experimenting with hot dogs. We saw Macron as a politician trying something new with a chatbot, right? And we saw the horrible example, obviously, of click farms, right? Okay, so that's kind of the difference on a little bit the mindset, the objectives, the team composition, and the process. All right, awesome. So the other difference is that, as you can see, and I love somebody mentioned here about budgets. I think was it Yasser maybe? I think somebody. I'm sorry if I don't remember correctly who mentioned it, but you mentioned about budgets, right? So the marketing budget, as you can see here, right, this whole circle, right, that's the marketing budget. What happens is that you have a certain amount of budget, right? Usually that's a yearly budget, right? And they say, hey, your marketing budget this year is XYZ, right? It's this how much, right? And you're like, oh, okay, awesome. What do you do as marketeers, since you have a marketing team? You go in and you do campaigns, as we said. It could be a 6-month campaign, a year campaign. And when the campaign ends, your budget is finished. You stop, you look at the results, and you're like, oh, okay, shit, this didn't work out. You've lost a lot of time, right? And you've lost a big budget. So the difference that really started to happen is that growth teams, I'll move myself around a little bit, growth teams had started to have iterative learning on the budget, right? So basically, instead of having the whole budget, you'll have a tiny bit of the budget, you'll test a small experiment, maybe couple, right? Until you find what works. And when you see what works, this is then where you want more money, right? This is where you start throwing more money at it. And then suddenly you're throwing the money at something that actually works, right? Which is your experiments that worked, okay? So this is very important to understand, because I'll give you a very quick example from a personal experience. Is when I first moved to Barcelona, Spain, I came for a startup, and my objective and my mission was to start the marketing team, right? And so I came from London to Barcelona. This company brought me. And they told me, they said, Tim, we have 100K marketing budget this year. How are you gonna use it? And it was the CEO, and they found me in London, and they're like, okay, we're gonna bet on this guy. We're gonna make him and his family move here, and so on. And this is quite a funny personal story, to be honest, because I still remember that day really well. That was about 6 years ago or so, 5 to 6 years ago. And basically they gave me this 100K budget. And I told the CEO, I said, I don't want the 100K. I said, I want only 10K. And he got worried. He's like, oh, okay, did we get the right person? He told the COO, and the COO was like, oh, okay, there's something wrong maybe. Maybe we got the wrong guy, right? He doesn't realize we're giving him 100K to do things, and he doesn't want the 100K. And they were quite worried. I could see in their faces, right? They're in Spain, I'm moving from London. And I see that in their face. They were quite worried. And I said, guys, I really want only the 10K. And they're like, yeah, but what about the rest of the 90K? I'm like, well, we'll see. We don't know where to spend that yet. And they're like, what do you mean you don't know? I'm like, well, have we tried any of the channels? Have we tried anything yet? They're like, no, but don't you assume that you're going to do this and this and that? I'm like, that's an assumption. I need to validate these assumptions. I need to have hypotheses, and then I have to validate these hypotheses. So I would take the 10K, I would throw the 10K very quickly on a couple channels, and I would look at the results, right? The second that I would understand a channel works, that's where I would say, all right, let's put more money into it. So when they understood that concept, and I actually did it the first quarter, I tested, I think it was about 5 or 6 experiments. And back then we even tried, I think it was Reddit ads. Reddit ads was very new, if you guys know Reddit. Reddit ads was new. We tried different channels. We tried LinkedIn advertisement. We tried PPC, and we realized Reddit ads was new. It was cheaper. And our target was network engineers. They were on Reddit. They were not on LinkedIn. They were not as active on LinkedIn. They were much geekier. They were much more on Reddit, on forums, and hanging out there. In the beginning, nobody thought about Reddit. If we had not experimented, we would have thrown all the 100K budget on the channels that everybody knows, which is LinkedIn and PPC, right? So luckily we didn't do that. By experimenting, by doing this little iterative learning, right? These little iterative experiments, we found our channel, and then we threw that money on that channel suddenly, right? And then I remember the CEO and the CEO got me out for drinks or for coffee or something, and they were like, Tim, you got us very scared in the beginning, but we're lucky that we didn't listen to you. And it's a great way to experiment and understand where you're going to spend the money, right? So please, 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 you're a B2B SaaS. Don't look at other B2B SaaS and be like, oh, they spent all their money on LinkedIn. Let me do the same. You're a B2B SaaS and they're B2B to the SaaS. it might be even the same product. It might be even competitor. Most of the time, you will find some differences, right? Maybe your brand, maybe your branding, maybe the cultural aspect of your brand and so on speaks to other people, right? So be careful who is where, right? Copying competitors is not always the solution. You can get inspired by competition, right? By competitors, and maybe take those channels and put those channels in your experiment list and experiment with it, right? Because maybe they didn't experiment and found a new channel that you haven't thought about, right? Maybe they never tried Reddit ads, right? And maybe you try Reddit ads and then you're like, wow, so much cheaper, right? Much better results, right? So this is why the experimentation and the iterative learning, it's one of the key concepts and importance in growth, right? This is why marketing versus growth budget. Okay, so if you start thinking with a growth mindset, you'll spend less quickly, much quicker, but you'll find what works for you, right? For your business. And every business is different, guys. Every business is different. Awesome, cool. So again, I'm gonna tap into that funnel stuff because I asked if you guys knew the pirate funnel. Not many people knew it, which is okay. You can definitely find it. The questions, great. Guys, you want to keep the questions for the end? We'll do a Q&A. If you put it on the chat, that's awesome. I'll try to go back on the chat, but also you can just keep it to the end. If you really want to stop me somewhere because something about the slide you don't understand or so on, please do, right? Raise your digital hand or just unmute yourself, right? But if it's questions like this is a great question by Yamama, which I'd love to do that at the end if that's okay, right? So the marketing funnel is, as we said, it was very simple. It was too simple. It was too simple for growth. We're looking at awareness, right? So as we said, awareness. What is awareness? It could be website visits, right? Very vanity metric. How many people comes to my website, right? That's not going to convert. We don't care that much about that as growth people, but it's okay. It's an indicator. We call it an indicator. Then we look at acquisition, as we said. So what is acquisition? It's signups. It could be a newsletter. It could be a demo request. It could be your free trials if you have that, right? So that would be your acquisition. And then the revenue, right? MRR, ARR, monthly recurring revenue if you're a SaaS, a software as a service. ARR, annual recurring revenue, or just total revenue, dollars and so on if you're an e-com or you're selling physical products like hardware and stuff, right? So this was the simple marketing funnel, right? And this is what the world of marketing was built on. Awareness, acquisition, revenue, right? We didn't care much more, right? So this is where the difference of growth starts happening, guys, right? So we do still have awareness, right? We still have our website visit. We look at acquisition still because we need to get those email addresses, right? We need to get the signups, we need to get newsletter signups, we need to get demo requests, we need to get free trials, we need to get meetings and so on, right? But suddenly we had activation, right? So activation was very different for many products. For every product that I've consulted for, activation would be different, right? Because it could be that you have a plugin that your website has to be integrated, right? So the metric, maybe it would be website integrations. Or if you had a marketing automation platform, like I had one of my big roles as a COO, we had a marketing automation platform and we looked at how many campaigns our customers would create, right? A customer coming in and, you know, we've acquired them, we got their money, we got their sign up, we got their money. We didn't give up there because if they didn't have 10 campaigns activated in the next month, they wouldn't see the value of our platform. And if they didn't see the value of our platform, what's going to happen? They're going to start looking at competitors and they're going to leave us, right? So we would work a lot on activation. So we would look at activates campaign, right? So how many campaigns do they have, right? So think about your business now for a second. What is the activation of your business, right? I'm sure you've thought about the awareness and the acquisition because we all think about acquisition, let's be honest, and then revenue, right? Because that's the number one thing that we all care about, right? But the activation is one of the most important things here, right? As Dr. Yazan said, there is another session that we're going to have, product-led growth. So there's going to be a lot more about activation and how to make sure that in the product, people can actually activate themselves and how can you do tricks there. But on the growth side, what you need to really care about here is to know your activation metric, right? What is activation for your business? Yeah. So I think that if we're talking something like a jet ski, you could even have activation there. It could be that they've done 10 nautical miles or 100 nautical miles or a second gas tank or something, or a second charge of electricity battery. Then you know they've activated, they've bought it, but they've also used it. So you know that the value now is there. They've seen the value, right? So that's the craziest example that I'm giving. Even from a hardware, you can see activation. But think about it from a software, from a fashion, from a marketplace, right? You have a lot of metrics that triggers that could say activation completed, right? This member now is active as well, okay? So then we look at retention, right? So does anybody know DAO, WOW, MAU, right? If you're doing mobile apps, daily active users, weekly active users, monthly active users, these are very important metrics on apps usually, on some platforms as well, right? This is a great example of retention, right? How many times you come on a day? Do you come every day? Is it on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis? And be careful again, every business is very different again here. There are certain businesses that you don't want everybody daily, right? On an email platform, you do want everybody daily because you do emails daily, right? But on an accounting platform, you don't want everybody daily maybe. You want them weekly or you want them monthly, right? That's okay. Because you don't have daily active users and you have a lot of monthly active users, doesn't mean that your business is not doing well. You have to put yourself in the shoes of your customer, of your users. Do they really need my platform every day or every week or every month or every quarter, every year? Right? Think about that. It's again very different for every product and every business, every service even. Okay. Then referrals is very important, right? How many people refer us? How many people invite other people? Right, these are very important metrics that the growth people will look at, okay, on the growth funnel, right? So please also do think about that in your strategies that you're gonna design, right? And then obviously revenue. We've said that monthly recurring revenue, annual recurring revenue, and dollars. That's the classic. That's the classic. Awesome. So I want to read out loud very quickly a quote that I really like. I'm gonna do actually two quotes. Growth hacking is generally a small, data-driven and technical group tasked with figuring out how to scale the business. Yeah, we don't know who this was. It's some guy on the internet. Okay, so I'm gonna repeat. Growth hacking is generally a small, data-driven and technical group tasked with figuring out how to scale the business. This is why technical, right? Just marketers are not technical. This is why you have to have devs, you have to have UX, you have to have analysts, right? Data people and so on, so that it's a technical team, it's a data-driven technical team, right? And you guys all said it. It's about scaling the business, is finding things to scale the business, right? Okay, so that's growth hacking. But again, the word hacking is not sustainable. We've seen the example, so I will go more with growth in general. But there's a lot of quotes, a lot of things about growth hacking, of course, right? So another quote that I really love, right? I don't like the guy much because I don't like that he's trying to go to space and stuff like that, and he's left his Amazon. Obviously Jeff Bezos, right? But one thing that I really love that he said is our success at Amazon is a function of how many experiments we do per year, per month, per week, per day. Being wrong might hurt you, but being slow will kill you, right? This is super important, guys. I'm going to reread it because this, when it goes to your mind, then you're okay to make mistakes. Make mistakes. Because if you're making mistakes and you're tracking, that means you're trying something new. The success at Amazon is a function of how many experiments they did per year, per month, per week, per day. Being wrong might hurt you, but being slow will kill you, right? So your competition might get faster than you if you're not fast. And testing things is completely acceptable. Failing is acceptable as long as you know why you failed. If you learn from your failures, this is where growth happens, right? But a very quick funny story again is I moved to Spain and I did my first public speaking, my first keynote speech. And it was offline. There was a bunch of people. I just moved to Spain. I didn't even speak Spanish. It was in English. And I said this. I said, guys, fail. I said, fail quickly, right? And at the end, you know, there was the drinks at the end of the session, the networking and stuff. And one Spanish guy came to me and he said, He said, Tim, in my country, we don't like to fail. I was like, oh shit. I was like, sorry, maybe you didn't get it right. If you're failing, it means you're trying new things. Make sure to learn from your failures. Don't fail just for the sake of failing. And it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. So then I had to be careful when I say fail, go fail quickly. Fail, but fail intentionally. Fail because you know what you're trying. Fail because you're tracking something, because then you're going to learn from it, right? Because if you fail and you learn, you're not going to do that mistake. Believe me, you're going to do other mistakes. But at least there's going to be a pool of mistakes that you've ticked. You're like, oh, we've done those mistakes. Let's try new mistakes. Let's try new failures, right? That's what really is the iterative learning that we also mentioned on the budget. Okay, all right. So experimentation mindset is what drives growth. That's it. Trying new things all the time. Try new things all the time. And we will learn in a bit a framework to do this, okay? I love what Dr. Yazan said, because he said about you can't, what did Dr. Yazan said? If he's here, I know he's driving or he's somewhere, but he said about you can't, if you can't track it or if you can't measure it, you can't grow it, right? And I loved it there. I wish I did say it there, but I wanted to keep this as a secret. I do have a saying, which is you can't hack what you can't track, right? So if you can't track it, you can't hack it. Right? So you have to make sure that you're able to track, right? First, make sure that you can track it, whatever metric it is. If it's behavioral, whatever it is that you're tracking is on point. If your tracking is on point, then the experiments and the failures are learnings. If you can't track it, then you failed for no reason. You've wasted time, you've wasted budget. You're possibly going to have problems with your co-founders, with your team, and so on, right? Okay, so always, you can't hack what you can't track. All right, awesome. So let's get a little bit more into frameworks and some wording and some systems and things on how to do a growth hacking, if you want to call it still growth hacking, but let's call it growth, right? So one concept is the OMTM, right? You all heard of possibly North Star, right? I prefer to call it the OMTM, right? The one metric that matters, right? So let's take a few seconds here, guys. Think about your business and think about what is the one metric that matters for your business. And please don't tell me it's just money and revenue, because it's not. There's so many other metrics that you care about, right? And there's that one metric that matters. And usually it's really not revenue, right? Because revenue will come and go. But customer satisfaction, usage of a product, the activation, certain things are much more important, right? So think about that, note it down. Note it down on your notepads. I see a lot of people taking notes. Say, what is my OMTM? If you can't figure out today, that's okay. Go with your team, go with your co-founders. Figure out what is your OMTM, what is your North Star, right? But the difference of an OMTM from a North Star is that your OMTM can change. It could be this quarter, this is the metric that matters to us. This 6 months, this is what matters to us. This year, this is what matters to us. This is the magic about the OMTM, right? Because maybe you just launched your product. Maybe you do care about activation first. So if it's activation, is it as we said, is it how many times it's used? Is it the gas tank or whatever example, right? Is that it's an evolving metric based on startup space? Yes, that's a great explanation. Thank you, Abir. On the chat, a great explanation. So the OMTM can change based on your startup space. That's correct. And not just on the startup space, but what is on the growth mindset, right? What is on your growth strategy? This quarter, we're gonna experiment a lot on this because we want to drive this OMTM forward. Yeah, all right. Can we have two main OMTMs? You mean? I think Yamama. Yeah, I'll get to that. Yes, I mean, in a quarter, if you really want to do that, if you're very fast, you could, because you could say we experiment every 2 weeks. Right, and then in a quarter we're gonna have, let's say, 6-7 experiments. Then you can say 3 experiments here, 3 experiments here. These are OMTMs. You can do that, but it's distraction, right? Try to have a quarter an OMTM, in my opinion, right? But every business, every product, every customer segment is very, very different. So you'd have to think about it, right? But you're still early stage, most of you, I reckon, right? So don't get distracted by having too many OMTMs. No, because it's one metric that matters. It's not two metric that matters, right? Because it will be then a TMTM, right? It's one metric that matters. Yeah, awesome. All right, it's a bit like the North Star, but it's a little bit more flexible. Okay, when you think about it. Awesome. So what is our one metric that matters? Again, do think about that. Put that question every quarter in your strategy meetings, in your management meetings, and so on. Ask each other, ask yourself, say, what is our one metric that matters right now in the next 3 months, in the next 6 months, right? Think about it. I also like 2MTM. Thank you, Mama. Yeah, that's even better than TMTM. All right. But you're gonna ask me, okay, an OMTM is great, but an OMTM has to have few things when you think about an OMTM, right? A one metric that matters. You have to have a baseline metric. That's very important. Where are we at the moment? Where is this one metric that matters at the moment? Is it at 0? Is it at 10? Is it at hundreds? Whatever, right? Where is the baseline? Where am I at right now? Where am I situated, right, in this metric? This is very important. And then, excuse me, then you look at the target metric. By the end of the quarter, that baseline metric has to be at this target metric, right? Is it the percentage growth or is it the number growth, right? So baseline and the target. When you have that, what's great about the OMTM, it's a bit like the OKRs, objectives and key results, or a little bit of a North Star kind of type of thinking as well, is that you can have leading indicators, right? If your OMTM, oh, great, I was just saying OKRs and Yamama said, okay, is it related to our OKRs? It can be, right? So you can think about it, you can break it down from an OKRs and you could say, oh, my OMTM, you know, this quarter is this because our OKRs, our objectives and key results, this is a key result, so that's going to be my OMTM, right? But the sad thing about OKRs is that you have, most of the time you have a few different key results that you're going for. And when you're in an early stage company, it's again a lot of distraction. But when you're 6-7 departments and you have at least 5-6 people in every department, then you can have different key results for each department that you're looking for, right? So the OKRs is great, but OKRs was designed by Andy Grove, Intel, 20 plus years ago. It hasn't been innovated on top of it again. I'm writing a book about this, and soon, hopefully, we will have, I don't want to say a better, but in my concept and in my clients that I've tested, a new methodology of doing OKRs, which is called GCO, Goals, Challenges, and Opportunities. Hopefully in the near future, I'll come and I'll do another masterclass about this, and then we'll teach you a new framework about growth, right? So OKRs is very interesting. It still works for a lot of people, but don't be too obsessed about, you know, too many OKRs. If you're an early stage company and you have 5 team members, you know, you're going to get lost very quickly. Okay. So we got our baseline metric. We know where we're at. We have our target metric. We know where we're going, correct? We have our leading indicators, right? Some other numbers that says, if these numbers are moving, that OMTM might move, right? So indicators, leading indicators, right? And a target date. And the target date is very, very, very important. And this is the difference, I think, in my opinion, of marketing and growth. Marketing usually have this metric that is their ongoing metric. And it's going to be ongoing for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years. It's leads generated or MQLs, marketing qualified leads or so on, right? And they don't really have a target. It just keeps going. In growth, in my opinion, it's great. This is why it's great to be able to have this quarter is this, or this 2 weeks even. You can say, because you experiment very fast, you can say that in 2 weeks, right, I want to achieve this, and that's my target date is in 2 weeks or in a month, right? Some slower companies will do that in a longer time, but faster companies definitely experiment around two weeks, because you have enough weekdays and enough weekends, right, to be able to understand how the experiment is going. Right, and we do what we say, you know, minimum viable experiments, MVEs, right? Like MVP, minimum viable product. We do minimum viable experiments. Yeah, awesome. So we'll get back down to those questions, and hopefully we should have enough time to even have a debate about OKRs and OMTMs if you guys want. In the meantime, if you can note your OMTM or some experiments you had in mind, or any type of questions that you're throwing on the chat, I'll be more than happy. I really did try to keep some time for this, all right? Because I think that's where you'll get the most value as well, right? Awesome. So we've understood a little bit the OMTM is a growth team. That's what we're going to care about, okay? And then we can experiment. But what's very important is the experimentation framework. How do we experiment, and why do we experiment? How do we understand if if an experiment worked or not, right? This is very important. So I've learned this methodology in the Netherlands when I went to a growth hacking school. When growth hacking was cool, as I mentioned. That was 5 years ago, something like that. I went to Growth Tribe. And one thing that I learned there that was very interesting, it was this methodology, and it stayed with me all the time, and I've implemented it into many of my clients, and it worked really well. So I hope that works really well for you guys as well. So let's dig into that a little bit. So it's called GROWS, GROWS. All right, GROWS is gather ideas, rank ideas, outline the experiments, work, which is the most important part, and study the data. All right? GROWS, GROWS. Simple, no? It's a good way to put it, in my opinion. So gather ideas. How do we gather ideas? We can gather ideas from data and analytics, from user testing, from business intelligence. We can gather ideas just from our creative mindset, right? Because last night in my dream, I saw something and I have an idea, right? As founders, I know that you all dream of your startups. You know, it's a common problem that we all get when we're founders. And I know a few people are smiling here and shaking their head, but be careful. You don't want to burn out, guys, right? You know, try to see dreams that are not your startups. That is not business, right? Try to relax at night before going to sleep. Okay. I had the luck, I'm gonna say, which is sarcastic, but at 25, 26 years old, I had a burnout. I went to the hospital because I was too obsessed about the startup that I work for, and I didn't believe in it before, and it does happen. So please be careful. Please be careful. So gather your ideas. All right, from data analytics, user testing, business intelligence, just generic. I'm sure that if you don't have an idea board or an idea document, have one ASAP, right? If we do have enough time, I'll show you how to build one very quickly on a platform like Notion, if you guys know Notion, and you can build that on a spreadsheet or something like that anywhere you want. But hopefully we can dig into that if needed. But I know that we're going to have also, if I may say that here, Nadine and Rezek, I think we're going to have a deep dive session for certain startups, for the startups of the core program. And
yes.
Yeah, awesome. In the deep dive session, we actually going to build a strategy together, right? So the deep dive is going to be hands-on. You guys are going to do a lot of work on the deep dive session, and it's going to be really fun, in my opinion. Right, so very quickly, we talked about gather ideas. So we're going to talk about ranking ideas. So how do you rank ideas? You know, it's, oh, this is a good idea, that's a bad idea, this is an okay idea. No, that's not enough, right? So prioritization frameworks, right? If today you Google prioritization frameworks, you'll find RICE, possibly one of the most popular one in America. I like PI and BRASS. PI is probability, impact, ease. BRASS is blink, relevance. I forgot, but PI is the one that I go with, or ICE. ICE is really good as well. ICE is impact, confidence, and ease. PI, as mentioned, is probability, impact, and ease. Right. So if we say probability, so if we say PI, so what's the probability of this experiment working out? What's the impact of this experiment? What's the potential impact of this experiment? And how easy is this experiment to execute on, right? So the same thing on, if you do it from ICE, is, you know, what's the impact? What's the confidence? How confident are we that that impact is going to happen, and how easy it's going to be, right? So there is different methodologies. We can look at it for sure. I'd say get the simplest one. ICE is very simple. PI is simple. RICE is okay. For different businesses, different prioritization frameworks work better. And sometimes, even in certain given time frames, certain different prioritization framework might work better for you, right? But don't let that confuse you. Don't let that be a problem, a blocker, right? Just take the simple one, run with it, let your team learn it, you know, how to score it and so on. And then in the near future, if you're going to change it, you'll change it. Okay, but go with ICE or PI for now, right? So the prioritization frameworks are very important, right? I'm gonna be writing a piece very soon about prioritization frameworks, because it's towards the book that I mentioned to you guys. So when that comes out, hopefully I can ping Nadine and Rezek here, and maybe they'll email you the guide about prioritization frameworks. It should be out sooner than later, hopefully. So that's a piece, but at the moment, please just Google prioritization frameworks. You're gonna find a bunch of them, right? But again, PI and ICE, simple ones, right? So we've gathered the ideas, we've ranked the ideas, right? So we understood which ideas are on top, right? Because they get the best score, right? The impact is going to be the highest. We're very confident about them, and they're the easiest. Okay, the easy part is very important, guys. There are some experiments that are very difficult. The impact and the probability is going to be really great, but they're going to be very hard to implement. And you're in an early stage, right? Something that's going to take you a long time to implement might kill your business, right? You remember what Jeff Bezos said? It's about the speed, right? So make sure that you're not slow, because that will kill you. Yeah, but being wrong might just hurt you. Right? So we outline the experiments, right? So we know which experiments we're doing this quarter or this month, because this top 3 experiments, right? So as we said, the MVE, like same concept as MVP. What is the minimum viable experiment, right? So this is the experiment. This is a big experiment. What is the minimum viable experiment that would show us if this works or not, right? So try to dissect that, try to understand that. Time box it. This is very important. I will always say target date, time boxing and stuff, because I've seen companies, they're like, oh, we're still experimenting. I'm like, how long has the experiment been running? They're like, yeah, it's been 4 months, 5 months. I'm like, okay, all right. When are you gonna know the results? They're like, end of year. I'm like, well, that's not really an experiment. That's a whole campaign. That's a whole thing you're doing. An experiment has to have a short time. And when I say short, people go, yeah, but Tim, but you know, we do this and we do that. If you do something that is more complicated, is more enterprise, and you have a longer sales cycle and so on, it's okay to have a time box of a quarter, right? But if you're a B2B SaaS platform, or you're a self-service and so on, 2 weeks is gonna make sense, right? If you're selling hardware jet skis, maybe it's longer, right? So don't worry. When I say 2 weeks, your business doesn't have to be 2 weeks. But the shorter it is, the quicker you experiment, the quicker you fail, the quicker you learn. The quicker you learn, the quicker you're going to grow. Right? That's the concept that we always have to keep in our minds. Okay? So we time box it. We don't look at just quantitative results, not just at numbers, but we also try to understand what would be some qualitative results that we can look at. Right? Is it customer reviews, or is it anything else around the qualitative side of things? Okay, very important. Very important of growth. People laugh when I say this, but work. Okay, it's great to have ideas. It's great to rank them. It's great to outline them, but the hard work comes in the work. Right? So try to have weekly sprints, so you go quick, right? Bam, 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 weekly iterations. Cross-skill teams, as mentioned. Make sure you're not just the marketeers in the experiment, but some different angles can be also in this team, in this experiments. Work in agile, right? This is very important, right? So this is the work part. To make this successful, that's what to do. Awesome. So, and then the end, which is very important, because this is where the learning comes in, right? Study that data. Study each experiment's data, hard and soft data, okay? Right? Learnings, have a learnings library, right? When your experiment's finished, put your learning somewhere, your analysis somewhere, so that you can learn from that, you can iterate, because the next time you're going to experiment on something similar, you're going to be like, oh, we did an experiment that was quite similar. Let me reread the learnings. And then you're going to read the learnings, you're going to be like, okay, we can make this experiment even better now, because I remember what we learned from the last one that was quite similar, right? So that's very important. And systemize this, systemize the whole process until the studying the data, because the concept or the thing that we're aiming here, guys, is this. Is we gather ideas, we rank ideas, we outline experiment. Oh, sorry, something happened there on the experiment. We work, we study the data, and we repeat, and we repeat, and we repeat, and we repeat, right? This repetition is where we suddenly experiment a bunch of it, 15, 20, 30 experiments a quarter or every 6 months. And bam, 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 we found new channels that work for us. We found channels that doesn't work for us. You know, channels that doesn't work for you, it's amazing, because you can put that on your blacklist. You can be like, okay, we're not doing this, right? Then you know where your attention is gonna go. That was the example that we said in the beginning about the Reddit or the LinkedIn and the budgets and so on. So again, the process grows. Gather ideas, rank ideas, outline the experiments, work, very important. Study the data and repeat. This is a loop, bam, bam, bam. Keep doing that. This is where growth is gonna happen, guys. Okay, so this is why, because there is a process, because there's a framework behind it, I'm not gonna call it growth hacking anymore, right? I'm gonna call it growth, because there's a whole process behind it. We're not just hacking our growth. Yeah, awesome, cool. So, and I put something funny here because I think it's very important, because I know that when I was early in my career and I was working on my first startups, I talked about personas, right? Who's designed personas here? You know, there's not many cameras left, but you know, do you design your personas, right? You look at demographics, who you're gonna target. Yeah, does anybody do that? Hopefully, yes. All right. So do you do your personas just demographics? Yeah. So if you do demographics, right? So this is an article that I was a guest on. If you do demographics. Male, born in 1948, raised in the UK, married twice, lives in a castle, wealthy and famous. That's your persona you're targeting, right? Let's say. Well, there's going to be a problem, because Prince Charles and Ozzy Osbourne are the same persona then. Yeah? I bet you they don't like the same things. I bet you they don't buy the same softwares or the same hardwares. Yeah? But they're the same persona if you put on demographics. Yeah, this is very scary, guys, because we got taught for many years in marketing of personas as demographics. Yeah, I will invite you to look at psychographics. I didn't bring much more to it because it'll be a very other long masterclass possibly, but please do look at psychographics, Ocean. If you write psychographics, anyways, you'll see what I mean on Google. It's not really about the demographics, but it's about, the type of a personality, the places they hang out, the things they do, the frequency of things they do, and so on, right? It's more psychographics and not just demographics, right? So this article can actually help you a lot. So I brought the link here, but you don't even have to get the whole link. You can just put Jeeves and my name, so Geeves, and then Tim Cakir, right? There's an interview there that I had, and I do talk a little bit about, obviously, the psychographics instead of demographics, but I talk about funnel, I talk about dashboards, I talk about some of the metrics and so on. I think it's a great little quick read article that is very easily digestible around some of these topics that startups should care about. It was an interview that they asked me about. Jeeves is an online bank here in Spain, and they interviewed me so that I can help their clients, because their clients are startups that uses their online banking, their startup banking. Okay, so yeah, so don't forget about the difference of demographics and psychographics, because demographics can really point you in the wrong places. A persona without identifying their goals, motivation, and frustration won't be very helpful. Yes, that's amazing. Yeah, exactly. Their goals, motivation, and frustrations, but also their personality, right? Thank you so much, Caroline, for putting that link there. That's awesome, legend. That's really cool. So Yahya said it quite nicely. Yahya, for sure, have that, right? I would add into that frequency. right? So frequency of potential usage of whatever you're selling, right? That's very important. But also the type of personality, not just their goals and motivations and frustrations, but what type of people are they? Are they introverts, extroverts, and so on? And you can really dig into psychographics. You'll find some very, very interesting information that will help your company grow. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So I think now it's time to look at a few examples, right? We've learned a lot about, not a lot, but I give you a very quick example of a little bit of the history and why some growth hacking mindset stuff was weird, like the sausages, the bad stuff like the click farms, the political example, which I really love, right? We've learned OMTMs, we've learned the growth methodology, the GROWS, right? We've looked a little bit, just as a quick reminder for everybody, not to use personas as demographics, but also include psychographics. And Yahya brought some really cool stuff there, identifying their goals, motivations, and frustrations, and so on. So now I want to look at a few examples, guys, right? I think I'm going to bring some iconic examples. I'm sure there's going to be one or two that you might know. I would be very interested if you do know all of them. Let me know. If you do, you know, I'll invite you for a digital coffee, if I may, right? Because there's some very interesting examples that I wasn't even aware of before, but because I love to give these masterclasses, I had to dig a little bit deeper and understand some of these amazing, iconic growth examples. Yeah? So let's start with Gmail. I reckon you might know this one, right? Do you guys know how Gmail launched? Does anybody remember? No. Awesome. Referral. Yeah, referral. Yeah, man. Absolutely. You remember it was, you had 10 invitations only, and you were the cool kid. I was in school. You were the cool kid because you had 10 invitations and you could invite 10 people. And a person that you invited would get 10 invites as well. And nobody had invites, man. They really gave limited invites, right? And a couple of people would have it. On eBay, they were selling invitations at $150, guys, right? So Google announced the 1 gig Gmail space, which never existed. Yahoo and Hotmail was 500 times less the capacity of 1 gig. Can you believe that? Phase 1 is based on invitation only. Oh, okay, it's based on invitation only. Okay, well, we'll talk about that, Yamama, if you want at the end, and see how we can make that even more successful if you want to. But so the Gmail example, so when they finally launched the invite a friend to Gmail, people who couldn't get an invite were bidding $150, right, on eBay. Really, right? I remember I had invites, right? I was in school. I was a cool kid. Everybody wanted an invite from me, right? So I had friends, like suddenly people that were not my friends wanted to become my friends, right? They were like, oh, can you give us 1 Gmail invitation? It was very dark marketplace to be able to sell your Gmail invitation. Seriously, no joke. Very quickly, obviously, Gmail became huge. I mean, it's from Google, of course, but you know how many Google products has been killed? So many. Every year there's a bunch of them, right? So that's an example that Yaman knew, and some people maybe they gamified the mailbox size too. Did they do that, Yaman? Did you get more gigs the more you invited and so on? I don't remember that.
You could see like a ticker that showed your mailbox size increasing slowly.
Oh yes, that's correct. Yeah. It's not like Dropbox. Do you remember Dropbox had, if you invite more people, you'd get one more gig, right?
Yeah.
That was very interesting as well. You'd want to invite more people because you want to get more gigs in your thing. But now we pay for terabytes, you know. But that was a good one. Yaman knows quite a lot about growth hacking, guys. Be careful.
It's a sign of our age.
I guess so. Yeah. Superhuman followed Sweet still does it, I think. Superhuman, actually, it's very interesting. I use Superhuman. I've been using Superhuman for 2 years. If you don't know Superhuman, it's an amazing email platform. It's expensive. It's very expensive. I pay it for the last 2 years because emails are very important for me, obviously. Superhuman did that a little bit, but what they do is a bit different, is that if you don't have a call with them, you can't get in, right? So you'd have to have an onboarding call with them, and they'll walk you through it, and then you get access to it. So you can't just pay and enter. But now they still do have a referral system inside it, and I can invite people to it, and then you don't have to go through the demo stage, I think. But the demo and / onboarding it's a must if you have no invitation. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think what I did was I booked a demo with them, and I won it because I wanted to understand a little bit further. And then they help you integrate your emails live, and they show you how to use it, and they even help you do inbox 0 on the first day with them, so that you have all your emails are sorted, and then you become a power user. So that's their activation, if you think about it, right? That's their activation. They don't just want the money, because money for them is like, yeah, I will make money. But by having the activation, making sure that they do this 30 minutes and that you get on board and then you use it, they know that you're going to use it for longer periods of time. That's important. So that's a superhuman. That's the latest example. Great. Let's go to Spotify, right? Yaman, hopefully we're not that old. I mean, yeah, Spotify is a bit earlier on, right? No, a bit later on, sorry. So Spotify, what they did was they targeted a selection of smaller geographical locations with limited invites. Obviously, they're Swedish, right? They did like Gmail, but they also included each track, each song that was played. It was on the Facebook timeline, if you guys remember. If you guys remember earlier on, when was Spotify? It's a few years now. I don't even remember. But you'd go on Facebook, and a lot of your friends suddenly were listening music, and you're like, oh, you know, XYZ friend is listening to this, and there were all Spotify links that were automatically posted on the Facebook timeline. Yeah. So what did they do? They used another channel, which was Facebook, that was very famous and had a lower volume, right? And they did that, and they would get people from there. So that was a great way of doing that as well. An example that massive mosquito. An example that that I think that you guys might not know, and if you do know, please let me know, is Reddit. Yeah, Reddit, the forum. Do we know Reddit, everybody? Yeah, So Reddit the founders, they were sticking stickers, physical stickers, all around New York City. Yeah, one morning everybody woke up in the metro, you know, everywhere there was stickers of Reddit, and there was wow, Reddit, what is this? What is this? What is this? So everybody starts going onto the website, you know, onto Reddit, on the forum, and they look at the website, and it was empty. It was early, right? It was empty, so people would leave. So people who would come visit the website wouldn't find anything, they leave. So I don't say let's do this, guys, but it's very interesting what they've done. So what did they do? They created fake accounts and they started conversations on their own, questions and answers on their own. And when people suddenly start coming and they would see other people already asked the question and already talking about something, then people would feel much more comfortable to also post something. All right. So you see a little trick as well there. That's a little, you know, very interesting. They grew from fake accounts. Yeah, well, so they did the fake accounts not to grow from the fake accounts, but to get people comfortable to be on the platform. Because when you come on an empty platform and you're the first one, you get scared, right? But if you already had 10 conversations there, you will feel much more comfortable of also joining the conversation. Yeah, to fill up the platform. Yeah, to make it look like there was a platform and that there was some conversation, so that you didn't feel like, oh shit, I'm the first one here. You know, am I a winner? Am I a loser? We don't know, right? So instead, they created fake accounts. Yeah, and it worked well for them. Reddit still exists and is huge. Dropbox, we know the example is the typical classical. One of the biggest referral examples is the Dropbox example. If you invite a friend, you get 1 gig, and your friend gets 1 gig. Right. The one very important thing here is double. Yeah, it's double referral, right? Because how annoying it is when somebody invites you to Candy Crush and they're just gonna get points and you're not gonna get any points. But if they invite you to Dropbox and you're getting 1 gig and they're getting 1 gig, right? Both parties win, right? It's a win-win situation, as we say. So make sure that if you do a referral, which I saw somebody's doing, can we use mixed options, invitation only plus referral plus fake account? We'll talk about that, Yamama. Try not to use fake accounts nowadays. I mean, we can see how we can use fake accounts. There could be a couple of fake accounts that you can use that can make people feel more comfortable. And 100% you can obviously use mixed options. But we'll look at, you know, keep these amazing questions where you'll unmute yourself and we'll have a quick chat, because I'm sure it will help other people also think about some creative ideas, right? I think let's go quick because we're gonna try to have some time. All right, so the Airbnb example. Do you guys know Airbnb? Yeah, of course, everybody knows. Craigslist. Did you guys know Craigslist? It was the biggest in the US back then. So what did Airbnb do? Craigslist was open for anybody to put their house and put a link. They used to allow links. So Airbnb started posting all their houses on Craigslist. Right? Craigslist had a lot of volume already. So suddenly you'd see a house on Craigslist, you'd be like, oh, there's a link. And the link was Airbnb. So they would steal the traffic of Craigslist and bring it to Airbnb. But then they realized that it wasn't working too well. They did a photography program in California only at first. And they sent professional photographer to your house to take pictures. Right? And they saw that if there was professional photos, then the bookings were much more. So what did they do now? If you guys have ever put something on Airbnb, if you have shit quality pictures, you cannot upload them, right? Because there's a image recognition, there's a computer vision behind it that sees the quality of the image and doesn't like it. Doesn't like if it's too dark or too light and so on, even angles and stuff like that, right? So they built that technology in because they've experimented, they tried and so on. Hotmail, we remember Hotmail. I'm sure Yaman does. You know, it was signed, not synced. It was signed, P.S. I love you. Get your free email at Hotmail, right? And that was at the end, and you're like, oh, what is that? And then you click on it. Tinder, right? Used to do house parties, right? They used to do parties at fraternity houses and stuff like that in California. They would go to UCLA. They would do a frat sorority, right? The boys' side, the girls' side. They do parties. They would throw the parties, Tinder itself, and they would go to the party and they would show the profiles of the girls, or to the girls the profiles of the guys, right? And they would start getting more members onto the platform on Tinder, right? And they would start doing different schools, different universities. And that's how they started to get a lot of people from fraternities and sororities on their platform. And that obviously crushed their growth, right? Exploded. Yeah, Candy Crush, horrible. I'm sure most of you remember when, you know, the posted progress updates on Facebook timeline and included the invite to continue referral. Like your auntie, your grandma, you know, everybody would invite me to Candy Crush. I was like, please don't invite me anymore to Candy Crush, right? But everybody understood what Candy Crush was very quickly. So these are some iconic examples. There's a bunch more iconic examples that you guys can find. The link is here. I don't know if somebody, I think Caroline was great, or even maybe Naive could do that. You know, Robbie Richards, if you write Robbie Richards growth hacking strategies or something like that, you're gonna have this list that comes in front of you somewhere in the thing. You have a bunch of examples. Yeah, so Robbie Richards growth hacking strategies, a lot of examples again there. Yeah. Awesome. So I want to give you some super simple hack ideas, okay, before we go. So on traffic, right? Competitor interest audience, we know these type of things, but you can target the social media followers of competitors, yeah, because you know that possibly they're qualified leads. Don't forget about that. The two-sided referral, we said that, you know, make sure that it's not one-sided. One-sided is very annoying to people, yeah, it's very selfish. Two-sided referrals are important for traffic. Some people will have a get demo. Some people will do free trial. Test both. I've seen very interesting differences in free trial or get a demo. Close your trial and say get a demo. Look at that. What's your conversions according to that? You'll find some interesting stuff happening, guys. By the way, save for later PDF. That's been used very little actually. Is you're reading something, hey, you know, I don't want to read it right now. Can you send me as a PDF? Put my email, click, and then the article, the blog, whatever comes. Not an ebook that is hidden. It's open. It's not gated. It's open, but I want to read this later, and I want a PDF version for my ebook, for my reader, or whatever, right? Save for later PDFs. On conversion, obviously, I'm sure you guys know this, but, you know, the qualification forms, you know, the workflow, the lead capture, you know, try to qualify people up front, because in B2B SaaS, or if you're enterprise, if you're more expensive on the service side, you don't want the wrong people until you realize they're the wrong people. Try it. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes remove registration steps. Sometimes you don't want to ask their first name, last name, and things. You just care their email. And after they're in your platform, slowly you can ask their names. Slowly you can ask some other information, right? Try to see if blocking them or unblocking them from certain steps is more important for your business, okay? Remove the homepage sliders. This doesn't happen anymore, but I still want to bring it here because I know people used to still do sliders, right? So if you have a slider on your website, it's horrible. The performance of your website will go down. Just remove that. Nobody cares about sliding some images, right? This is a good one for early stage startups, in my opinion. Partner social proof. What do I mean by that? So maybe you don't have massive clients in the beginning and you don't know who to show on your platform, on your website. That's okay. Maybe you have integration. Maybe you partner with other companies. You can use their logos because you're integrating or you're partners with them, right? You can use their logos because you don't have to say clients. You can put it as a social proof somewhere on your website. And suddenly maybe you're using the Intel technology. Maybe you're using some type of Google AI ML, right? You can show that. And having those logos gives a very nice social proof very quickly, guys. Okay? So don't call them your clients because they're not your clients. Don't lie. But it's okay to use certain logos. Yeah? Awesome. Let's get into tools because tools aren't for fools, I would always say. Right? So I'm going to go very quick through a few tools. Take notes. Okay? We can see if later we can send an email maybe out. We'll try to create that and send you a list of tools. Okay, so Make. It used to be Integromat. If you're not aware of it, please check it out. You can design some amazing workflows, automate a lot of things. You can connect a bunch of your little hacks and little tools and so on. It used to be called Integromat. It's now Make. Yeah. Amazing platform. It's definitely a tool to be on the toolbox of any growth, I don't want to say hacker, any growth expert, any growth person, right? Make. Clay. This is very new, guys. I've never shown this to anybody. All right. So this is a exclusive. Clay sheets. I think it's clay.run. Right, clay.run, it's amazing. It's a spreadsheet that it automatically can find sources, right? So you can put the URLs or the names or something of somebody. It will find their LinkedIn and find their email, find their things, right? Automatically, you can have different sources. You can go scrape Y Combinator sites. You can scrape Crunchbase. You can scrape a lot of things very, very automatically from a spreadsheet. It's very cool. It's basically a spreadsheet on steroids, right? So that's clay.run. Lead Delta. This is something again super new that I haven't shown to anybody yet, right? So this is for you guys. Lead Delta. I've been using it myself lately. It's a LinkedIn CRM, right? LinkedIn is horrible for messaging. If you guys have not realized that yet, it's I have 11,500 plus contacts. Trying to have a chat with everybody, it's horrible. But with Lead Delta, you have a CRM, you have templates, you have some really cool stuff, right? And if you're in the B2B side, in the B2B kind of type of product and stuff, and you're selling to businesses, you're possibly gonna have to have a lot of conversations on LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn is a great channel for that. So use Lead Delta. Yeah? Great tool. Another one that I really love, Phantom Buster. Right, Phantom Buster has a lot of APIs. There are little APIs that are already built for you, right? So you don't have to code, you don't have to develop APIs yourself. You can tap into whatever API. So I'll give you a quick example. So they had, a Twitter profile like extractor, Twitter profile scraper, Instagram hashtag collector. If you're in e-commerce, if you're in fashion or whatever, and you have certain hashtags, you can actually collect all the information, and then you can see who you're going to target. You can find clients, you can find businesses to partner with, and you can automate all that scraping. Yeah. So I'm going to give you a very quick example of what I've done with Phantom Buster back in the day. They had a Facebook event guest exporter. I was invited to speak at an event. So what I've done is I used the Facebook event guest exporter. I took the URL, obviously, of the Facebook page of the event. I put it in the platform and basically connected to my Facebook, and it started to scrape all the attendees, right? So it took 145 of the attendees, the guests, they've been scraped. And basically I got a spreadsheet of everybody's name, last name, and more information that I've hidden here because I didn't want to scare people. I didn't want to show that. But when I put this on the screen, in the event, it was already scary enough. Some people got even quite angry. They're like, how can you scrape my data? I'm like, well, your data is on Facebook. You've agreed with Facebook to have your data, so I can scrape it. So I'm not doing anything illegal here, right? So GDPR, it's a sensitive subject, but that's between the consumer and Facebook, not with the growth hacker, if you want to call it. These were little hacks, to be honest. These are not sustainable, right? But I wanted to show you a little bit. So I took all that list. You know, with this list, you can do a lot of things. You can do similar audiences. You can do a lot of things, guys. Okay. So these are quick scraping examples. So you have a lot more, obviously, Facebook post commenters, post likers, message senders. Same thing around LinkedIn. You have a lot of Twitter examples, Instagram, LinkedIn examples, sorry. Another really cool tool that I love, if you guys are not aware of it yet, I really do suggest to look at it. So this is their old site, I think. I just revamped it with this one. Outgrow is very cool if you're building any calculator, any kind of quizzes, assessments. If you're an e-com, you want to do like a page of recommendations, you want to do some polls, you want to do chatbots, giveaways, forms, surveys. It's very, very, very cool because it has templates that makes you build very interactive content very quickly. You know? So that is really, I really love Outgrow, by the way, guys. I really do love it. Awesome. So you're going to ask me, where do you find all these tools, Tim? Right? Everybody asks me this usually. I find them on Beta List. Yeah, a lot of them on Beta List. I'm sure you guys are aware of Product Hunt. So you'll have a lot on Product Hunt. But Beta List is a really, really cool place as well to find the latest tools. You know? I find some really cool stuff there. All right, so I kept a couple of really cool stuff to bring here, I think. I wanted to show you this because it fascinates me each time I see this. So behind me, it's the internet community's popularity on Google Trends. Okay, so 2004 to present, it says. The latest version I have 2018 end or 2019. So basically, what I want to show you here is that the communities online, they come in and they die, all right? So this is why, as your business, you know, don't rely on Facebook or on certain online community, right? This is why experimentation, finding a variety of channels is very important, right? You don't want your business to die because because Snapchat died, right? Let's say, right? So as you can see, if you guys remember MySpace, so that was MySpace. Boom, how it crashed. That was MySpace. YouTube's still going. It had a little dip. It's gone back up. Facebook, obviously, Facebook is on the downfall, as we all know, right? It's going bad at Facebook. Twitter, Twitter had where's Twitter? Twitter had a little bit of a weird period as well, right? They've grown very big. It's the light blue here. Twitter had a very good peak, then it dropped a lot. It got very political. Now, obviously, Elon Musk bought it or stopped. We don't know. It keeps changing every day. So let's see what's going to happen to Twitter. But here, what I love is to show you the Google Plus. As you can see, this green, this green peak. Do you see the green peak here? You remember what happened one morning? We all woke up and we all had a Google Plus profile suddenly. We never signed up for it, but because we were Google users, we automatically got Google Plus profile. People hated it because we were forced into a social platform that we didn't even think of. So what happened is we woke up one morning, the whole world was almost registered, and then everybody realized, everybody signed off, everybody deleted their account. And as you know, I think, was it 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago, 2 years? It was just before the pandemic or during the pandemic. Google Plus shut down. Right. I mean, it was a horrible strategy from Google. Horrible strategy from Google. And I really want to emphasize on that. It was a horrible strategy for Google. So what I wanted to show here is that internet communities come and go, right? Now there's no TikTok here, which TikTok took over everything, right? It'll go as well at some point. There'll be another one, right? So diversify your business channels, please. Yeah. Okay. I want to keep time for questions. Let's see. All right. So I want to give you a bit more resources because I love to give resources. I think that helps a lot. Ladder.io. Clubhouse is the next Google Plus. Gassan Clubhouse is worse, I think, even than Google Plus. I mean, it wasn't forced, so we all got excited. We all wanted to be on Clubhouse. They didn't know how to monetize it whatsoever. Now, if you go to Clubhouse, it's every day is the same conversation and the same people saying the same things. It's really boring. It was fun because where there was a pandemic, we couldn't go anywhere. So I got addicted for 3 days, 3 nights. I didn't sleep. I was on Clubhouse. In bed, I was listening on my AirPods to Clubhouse. I was like, wow, this is so cool. And 3 days later, I was like, that's actually crap. It's like, I listen to random people and I don't get anything, and it just keeps repeating. And then I never opened it again, and I think this happened to most people, right? You get excited for a bit and then it goes. So thank you for bringing that, Gassan. That's 100%. The fact that they made it invite only made the quality out of it. It didn't make quality. It made it feel like there was quality. It made it feel like it was exclusive, didn't it? But then very quickly we realized it wasn't exclusive at all, actually. And they couldn't monetize it. I know I told you guys about the OMTM that shouldn't be just revenue, but revenue is important if you want to stay alive, right? And if you have a product that doesn't make money, how are you going to pay salaries? I'm not sure. Investors, VCs, great, but there's an economic downturn coming as well. So be careful. So ladder.io, they have a playbook. So if you put ladder.io playbook, they have, I think 800, 900, I want to say 796 plus here. Sorry. Open source growth tactics used by the best marketers in the world. Yeah. You can find a lot of those examples that I gave you, the quick examples I gave you. They have a lot. And you can filter it for return on investment, on traffic, conversion, on different things, different actions. And it's a great platform. They're a growth agency. They've done really well stuff, but their playbook is one of the best resources online for examples. A lot of people always ask me certain books. I could have brought hundreds more, but very quickly, Don't Make Me Think, very good. Lean Analytics, very important if you're into your numbers, if you haven't read it. If you haven't read Influence, go read it. It's the Psychology of Persuasion, very important. Predictability, Irrational, very good book as well, right? About decisions and how to shape decisions. Traction, very good for startups, obviously, right? Hooked, How to Build Habit-Forming Products by Nir Eyal should be something that every startup founder should have read, right? Obviously, I can go on to many other books that you guys possibly have heard everywhere, but this is a bit of a list to start, right? If you haven't read these, please go read them. So I'm going to get into questions. Hopefully, we're going to have the last 10 to 15 minutes for some questions and debates, yeah? But before that, I want to... It's not promotion because I'm not going to charge you anything for this, but go on my... I have a growth letter. It's called the growth letter. I will put the link in a second. In my growth letter, it comes out every Tuesday. Every Tuesday, I have an article that I read that is very important for the week that I recommend to all my subscribers. I have usually one post, could be a LinkedIn or a Twitter post or a post from somewhere that I really spoke to me, that I want to share with my readers, with my subscribers. There's going to be a piece of media, one media piece, right? So usually it could be a podcast, it could be a video, it could be anything, a media of the week that I recommend. And a tool, which is very good, is every week there is one tool that I recommend, that I found, that I've tested, that I recommend to my subscribers, and a framework, right? So that's a new thing that we started at Team Cakir, and I say we because here I have Video, which is my executive assistant. Luckily, I can amplify my content these days. So this is free for everybody. Every week Hopefully you'll get some value. You know, reply to it if you don't like something. If you like something, reply, comment, like it, invite others. You know, I try, as I think Dr. Yazan, I saw him, he's in the street walking and listening to us. Thank you, Dr. Yazan. I think as Dr. Yazan said in my introduction in the beginning, I love to share. I share everything I know. I've not hidden anything in my life. And, you know, some people are like, wow, why do you share all your tricks and tips and stuff? I'm like, well, I still grow, you know. By hiding these secrets doesn't benefit me or anything, you know. By giving everything that I know, it actually does benefit me at the end of the day. Thank you, Abir, for that. So we do work a lot on the newsletter every week. It's packed. It's full of value. And if it's not, please let me know why you don't think it is or it's not. We always try to keep optimizing it. You'll see every 2-3 months it changes a little bit. We add new things, we take out new things. You know, it's driven by you guys. It's driven by anybody very excited about growth. Did you manage to growth hack your newsletter? Yeah, man. Actually, I haven't growth hacked massively my newsletter. I didn't take it that seriously. I stopped it because last year I was on paternity leave. I have a little baby, and I stopped it. But this year, luckily, I've hired my best master students, which is Naividya, who's on the call as well. And so now everything's much more serious since the beginning of the year. You know, so every week now there's something, and slowly we will growth hack it. I had some ideas about growth hacking it, so now we're looking at some testimonials from our fan readers. We have a bunch of fan readers, and we're gonna start sharing that. But you can help Yaman with the growth hack by inviting other people. Yeah, by referring it. so that's the growth letter. It's on Substack, so you can go thegrowthletter.substack.com, or you can just write the growth letter space Substack, or the growth letter Tim Cakir. You'll come up. As mentioned, it's a free newsletter. It will always stay free. So please, you know, if you do find it value, go on to it. You're gonna say, all right, how can we follow you? How can we find things? Obviously, my LinkedIn is the most important channel at the moment since the beginning of the year. I post every day apart Sundays. Some Saturdays I post fun stuff about my family, about sailing, about Formula One, which I love, about my hobbies. But Monday to Friday is all about frameworks, all about learnings, about content that hopefully adds value to you guys. Usually is around startups, tools, leadership, technology, and entrepreneurship, right? So Monday to Fridays, expect the post. So go ahead and follow me there. You can find my website there. Thank you so much, Caroline, for that. Team LinkedIn all the way. Is that LH all the way? Team LH? Linked LH? Oh, okay. Explain that in a second, Gassan, hopefully. And if you're asking again, what else, things that I do, you will always find it in my features section. The growth letter is there, obviously. The one thing that I mentioned to you, the frameworks, it's actually a LinkedIn newsletter that I'm testing that has been going really well. We have already, we started 4 weeks ago, Naive? 4, 5, something like that.
About 3 weeks.
3 weeks ago, we already have 1,200 subscribers there. It's one framework every Monday, right? And it's very short, very simple. There is a graphic about the framework, who the framework is for, how to use it, when to use it. That's it. I love frameworks. I love systems. I love tools, as mentioned, right? And obviously, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Usually, it takes time sometimes, you know, but tim@timcakir.com is where you'll find me. But as Dr. Yazan also mentioned, you do have, I think, a coaching option with me that is going to start from now on. So you can book me there. And we can spend some time on your use cases, on your problems. I love problem solving. So if you do have any problems and you think that I'm the right person, please book that call. I love problem solving, really. Like, throw me any problem. If I can't solve it, I'll find somebody else that can solve it. If I can't solve it, I'll find a framework. I'll find something, a tool that will solve it. I will always try my best to solve problems because I love them, right? Because I don't believe in problems. I believe in solutions. I say there's never a problem. There's always solutions. Right? So that's kind of it. I went a little bit fast because I wanted to keep some time, and I know we lost some time in the beginning from intros, but I really wanted those intros, to be honest, because I love to get to know people. I'm all about that. So I'm gonna keep some time now. We have 10 minutes, right, on Q&A. Okay, And I know that when I put the Q&A, people get shy suddenly, but I know there are some questions on the Zoom chat already. So shall I go get those questions, or the ones who asked those questions and still wants an answer, would they like to raise their digital hand? If you know how to raise your digital hand, you can go on the, I think it's on the reactions on the bottom, and you can click raise hand. Or if it's not too many people asking questions, you can just unmute. Malik.
Okay, thank you, Tim, for the hacking session. Actually, it is a generic question. It was about the timing. I noticed that you put on the one of the graphs multiple budgets compared to one big budget for marketing. So does this mean that we will go try, let's say, our marketing options one by one, or we can launch multiple trials together and have the feedback separately?
Okay, very interesting question. So the idea is not to have multiple budgets, but is to take your big budget and not use it, and then break it down into a very small part, and then assign that small parts of the budget into the experiments that you're gonna run. So if you're gonna run consecutive experiments, that's great. Parallel experiments are also great, but how many people is your team? Be careful, right? Try to take experiment one by one if you're 3-5 people, right?
Yeah.
If you're more, I do understand that you can run more experiments, but also be careful because certain experiments might override each other, right? So what I'm trying to say here, it's try to focus more on saying, okay, we're fast team. We're experimenting online, right? For maybe the early signups for your hardware for Laundrette, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you can do quick experiments on 2 weeks. Then on 2 weeks, you can do one experiment every 2 weeks, right? In a quarter, you can do 5-6 experiments, right? So do that, and then break it down. And then as you rank the experiments, you know that these 5 experiments this quarter are the most important, And then the next quarter, from the findings from the first 5 experiments, you might re-rank the other experiments to see if other experiments make sense now or not. Does that answer a little bit your question, Malik?
Yeah, very clear. I will not take a lot of time. I will keep the room for others. But regarding the graph you showed us for, let's say, the social platforms, we can see that they went through a hack, but now they are declining, let's say, in the curve. So does this mean at this stage we are not going to do any more hacks? It is just one hack per product, or we still have a room for
So the online communities that you saw, Manik, I don't think it's one hack that brought them there. It's multiple hacks and it's the experimentation mindset that always brought them there. And usually the decline is because other platforms, as we've seen, one platform comes, one platform goes, other platform gets more popular, right? They bring new features. TikTok came now, everything else is dying down. Right, even YouTube is seeing a massive dip because of TikTok. Even LinkedIn is starting to see a dip because of TikTok, because TikTok is starting to also be a professional network, which is really weird, right? So, but that's not going to be sustainable neither, Malik. TikTok will die at some point because somebody else will come and will learn about maybe Clubhouse's audio features, maybe TikTok's video features, and LinkedIn's networking features, and they will combine them and they will create a better platform, right? So why the new platforms show up all the time? Because they experiment. They have an MVP, right? They have a minimum viable product. They test it. They get hundreds of users, thousands of users. Then they push it. They make that big growth. They get a lot of community, right? And they can sustain it. And this is because we're humans, right? We don't.
Sure.
We're very quick on changing our mindset about things, right? So don't be too obsessed about that.
Yeah, but let's say that could apply also on different product lines. So one hack or multiple hacks per product line, for example.
Of course. Yeah. You can separate that by product lines, by services. You can also sometimes even experiment around features. You can say we're gonna experiment these features separately, but be careful again to make sure that they don't override, they don't influence each other, right? Because you want to make sure. This is why it's better in the beginning.
Accurate feedback.
About one experiment, finish it, learn from it, go to the next one.
Yep, thanks a lot.
Awesome, Malik. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you saw value in this. Gassan.
Hi, Tim.
Hey.
Just a quick question. Do you have some? Have you ever seen some unique ideas for user growth? How to incentivize new users to come to your platform?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, there is so many. There are so many. There are so
Give me just like a few unique, very creative ways that you saw, if you have any.
Okay, wow, that's you put me on the spot here, buddy. So let me think, let me think quickly. So usually if your product, let's say that you have a basic package, a medium package, and a pro package, and you have limited, let's say you're a marketing automation platform, you're limited onto certain numbers of automations, right? A new user in a certain given time frame, you can give them extra features from another package included in their package. That could be a thing. You can let somebody come into your platform and then reward them because in the first week they've done a campaign, they've integrated their contacts and so on, and you can give them something extra. You can give them, what I loved a lot is that if you're self-service, you can give them suddenly an hour of a onboarding specialist. That works really well. You can use, if you're a hardware, you definitely can send, I've seen this in boxes, in subscription boxes. If you have a subscription box and you're a new user, I get the subscription box that I'm subscribed, and you have other boxes, you give little samples in it for others, right? It's actually a reward for me as a new user, but it's also me testing your other products and maybe possibly liking the other products and taking the other products, right? On a subscription box, which actually is a shampoo, cream and so on for men, and I love it. It's called Lumin Skin e-commerce. They charge you only for the delivery the first month, and you can cancel it. So the reward here is that for $7 or whatever, you get all your products, right? And if you don't like them, you don't continue, but they're guaranteed that you're gonna like it. What they do on top of it, they stick your name on it, and you think that the product is made for you, but it's not. You know, so they're little rewards and little ways of customizing, personalizing that you feel special. Does that help, Gassan?
Yeah. Is that sustainable for the project?
It's not sustainable.
You need to keep them motivated to resubscribe to your service.
Yeah,
right?
well, I mean, to be honest, if your product is great, Gassan, then you don't need motivation. It's is there a problem that you're solving?
Isn't this part of the MVP? To keep the
MVP. Yeah, they did it part of the MVP.
Yeah, to keep the users satisfied for future purchases, let's say.
Yeah, well, I mean, an example of this, the Lumin Skin example, it's been 2 years. I'm still subscribed because I haven't found a better shampoo for me, you know, and they started with a survey, you know, and I'm sure they have different products. I know they have different products, but they made me feel that this product is only for me, like exactly only for me. They had my name on it, my skin type, my hair type, blah, blah, blah. It was free. I just paid for the delivery, you know. And the second month they asked me, they said, hey, do you want to cancel it now? I was like, no, I love it, you know. And from an MVP, they became this massive e-commerce company now, 2 years, 3 years ahead, Lumin Skin. You know, that's an example of a hardware product, but I think on a software, there's so many little things you can do, you know, on rewards, on loyalty, and so on.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
Yes, amazing. Thank you, man.
Awesome. I mean, you know, if I did have the time and think and research, I can find you a lot of stuff, but there's very good examples about this. Great question, Gassan.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions? I know we have a minute or something left. Did I answer every question that was on the chat? Everybody okay with that? Yeah. Everybody feels that their questions are answered. You got the value that you wanted. I think Nadine put a nice note there. Please don't forget to fill out the training assessment form. Yeah, please don't. Awesome. Guys, well, I think that's about it. If anybody doesn't have anything else to add, we're right on time. I know I couldn't meet some of you, so please do add me on LinkedIn, send me a little message, introduce yourselves. Let's get to know each other. As Dr. Yazan mentioned, there is another session next week, right? And then for the core programs, startups, we're going to have a deep dive. And the deep dive is going to be much more technical, guys. We're going to design some growth loops. We're going to design a growth strategy. It's going to be your growth strategy. So I hope that I see the startups there. That's it. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time and for the great questions.
Thank you, Tim, so much. That's a great session. Looking forward to more of you. I'm sure the participants, I mean, we've had full engagement throughout the session, so that's great. It is recorded as well, and we're going to share that on our social media outlets. Thank you, Nadine and Bizet, for managing this, and thank you, everyone. Hope this was beneficial. One thing I'd like to note that next week we have a deep dive on running business experiments. And this kind of comes hand in hand right before Tim's second session, because that's what he's talking about with experimentation. So, and we do expect all the core beta entrepreneurs to engage in at least 3 business experiments that vet their biggest assumption. And this is not a to-do checklist. I've done it. This is how do you embed that into your DNA? Because that's how you're going to increase your probabilities of success. So without further ado, thank you so much for everyone. And Tim, a real pleasure having you partake in our conversation and expanding the conversation.
Thank you, Dr. Yazan. Thank you, everybody at the core team. Nadine, Razek, if you're still here, and everybody who attended. Hopefully, I see you guys next week as well. And all the best. If you have any questions, I'm online. You can always reach out. It might take time, but you'll get your answers at some point. Thank you, everybody. All the best. Keep growing.